You're standing in a corridor that smells like hot oil lamps and wet stone. The air is dead, no breeze, no voices, just the slow, deliberate scrape of fabric somewhere behind the sealed door in front of you. You tighten your grip without meaning to, because it isn't the sound of fear that makes your skin prickle. It's the sound of someone moving calmly when they shouldn't be calm. Someone pacing like they still own the ground under their feet. Someone rehearsing an ending. Inside that room, the last queen of Egypt is being kept alive on purpose, not for mercy, not for justice, for theater. And you can feel it in the way the guards outside her chamber don't speak her name. They refer to her like a shipment, like a problem, like a future scene already drafted in Rome, waiting for its final prop to arrive. Cleopatra doesn't scream. She doesn't beg. She doesn't bargain the way prisoners bargain when they still believe rules exist. Sometimes she speaks softly, as if another person is with her. Then the silence returns, heavier than before, as though the room itself is listening. You tell yourself she's praying, or remembering, or planning. You tell yourself anything except the truth, that this is what it sounds like when a ruler is cornered, and still refuses to give the conqueror the kind of victory he wants. Before we go any further, tell me where you're watching from: city, state, country. I still can't get over the fact that these ancient stories echo in living rooms and phone screens all over the world at the same time. Now pull back. Let the scene widen until you can see the machinery behind the door. This is Alexandria, bright, proud, loud with marketplaces and seagulls and temple chants, yet suddenly strangled into tension by Roman boots. The year is 30 BCE. The Mediterranean has become a Roman mirror, reflecting Rome's power back at itself, and Egypt is the richest image in that mirror. Octavian has won the war, but victory is not the same as control. Control means the story belongs to him, and Cleopatra alive is a problem with a voice. She isn't just a defeated monarch. She's a narrative risk. Romans can forgive a foreign queen if she's painted as a caricature, an Eastern temptress, a witch, a corrupter of good Roman men. But Cleopatra is educated, multilingual, disciplined, politically skilled. She has negotiated with senators, hosted philosophers, read the room of history like an expert gambler. A complicated enemy doesn't make clean propaganda. So Octavian needs to simplify her, and the best way to simplify a person is to remove their agency until the public only sees what you allow them to see. Here is the hidden paradox of Cleopatra's final days. Octavian does not merely need Cleopatra dead. He needs Cleopatra defeated in a specific shape. He needs her alive long enough to be displayed, humiliated, reduced, then erased. He needs time to reshape her into a warning. But Cleopatra knows exactly what a Roman triumph is. She has seen the formula: a conquered enemy marched through Rome, chained, mocked, dragged beneath cheers, then killed at the end like punctuation. To Cleopatra, death is not the fear. The parade is. So Octavian cannot simply execute her. He must break her first. He must make her hesitate. He must make her reach for life, not because she wants it, but because something inside her is forced to want it. And there is only one lever powerful enough to move a mother who is also a ruler: her children. The final days begin not in a palace chamber, but in a tomb. Cleopatra has built her own tomb near the Temple of Isis, not as a romantic gesture, but as a fortress stone thick enough to resist flame, doors designed to hold against men, openings so narrow the building seems to glare at the world. When defeat closes in, she retreats inside with 2 attendants who have earned the right to stand close, Iris and Charmian. She brings treasure with her, because treasure is more than wealth. It's bargaining power, it's leverage, it's the ability to negotiate with death itself. She knows Octavian's men are coming. She also knows the first thing Rome will steal is not gold. It will be her image. Outside the tomb, Mark Antony is dying in the ugliest way a soldier can die. Not in battle, not in a final charge, but by his own hand after a lie. Someone tells him Cleopatra is already dead, and the lie lands exactly where Rome wants it to land, inside his pride, inside his despair, inside the thin seam where love and ego blur. He falls on his sword, but the wound doesn't finish the job quickly. He bleeds and collapses and breathes in ragged, wet bursts. His men carry him toward Cleopatra's tomb like they're carrying a crumbling empire. They beg Cleopatra to open the doors. She refuses, not because she is cold, because she is calculating. If the doors open, Roman soldiers flood in, and Cleopatra becomes an exhibit. So she chooses a different cruelty. She will not open the tomb to Rome, even to save the man she loved. Instead, she lowers ropes from above, from an upper opening, and she and her attendants haul Antony upward like cargo, scraping him against stone, dragging him while his blood marks the walls. Imagine that image clearly. The Queen of Egypt pulling the dying man she once used as an ally and a lover into the tomb she built to protect herself from capture. His blood on her hands, her hair falling loose with effort. No music, no poetry, just breath and stone and the sound of a body being dragged away from the world. Antony dies inside that tomb in a place designed for endings. Cleopatra does not get to grieve. Grief is a luxury for people who aren't being hunted. Octavian arrives, and here's where the horror becomes subtle. He does not storm the tomb. He does not break the doors. He does not give Cleopatra the clean narrative of a violent conquest. He sends a messenger instead. He offers terms. He speaks of her children. He suggests there is a future still negotiable. Cleopatra refuses to open the doors, but she answers through a narrow gap, careful and sharp. She demands guarantees of her children's safety. She attempts to turn the conversation into diplomacy, because diplomacy is the last weapon she has that doesn't require a blade. While she speaks, Octavian's men climb. They scale the exterior and slip in through the same upper opening used to haul Antony inside. It is almost poetic in its cruelty. The escape route becomes the entry point. The lifeline becomes the trap. They drop into the tomb like falling verdicts. Cleopatra moves faster than the stories like to admit. She reaches for a dagger hidden in her clothing. She tries to end it right there, inside the fortress she chose. But the soldiers are ready. They were ordered to stop her, not to treat her gently, to keep her alive. They wrestle her down. They disarm her. They restrain her. And in that moment, the meaning of her captivity becomes clear. Octavian is not afraid of Cleopatra's army. Her army is already broken. He is afraid of Cleopatra's choice. He is afraid of a queen dying too soon, dying too proudly, dying in a way that denies him spectacle. So he gives his men one instruction that overrides everything else. Do not let her die. They carry Cleopatra from the tomb and bring her to the palace. Not a cell in some dungeon, not a public holding pen, but a carefully selected chamber on an upper floor, one door, one narrow window, nothing to climb through, nothing to hang from. Guards outside day and night. They search her constantly. They remove pins, blades, cords, anything sharp, anything long, anything that could be turned into an exit. This is not imprisonment. This is preservation. Cleopatra is being kept alive the way a collector keeps a rare artifact intact, because it will look better later, under the right lighting in front of the right audience. And now Octavian begins the part of the operation history rarely describes with enough honesty, the dismantling of a person through controlled psychological pressure. At first, Cleopatra believes she can still negotiate. She has negotiated with famine. She has negotiated with Rome. She has negotiated with men who thought they could own her. She assumes this, too, is a game with pieces and rules. Octavian makes sure she understands it isn't. On the first day, the message is soft. Your children are safe. On the second day, the message sharpens. Their safety depends on your cooperation. On the third day, the message becomes a blade hidden in velvet. If anything happens to you, no one can guarantee what happens to them. Cleopatra has 4 children. Caesarion, her son with Julius Caesar, is the most dangerous living boy in the world, because he carries the one bloodline that could challenge Octavian's claim to be Caesar's rightful heir. The younger 3, Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus, are Antony's children, living proof of the alliance that Rome wants to turn into a scandal. Octavian knows this. Cleopatra knows he knows. That's what makes the trap so tight. Because Cleopatra's instinct is to seize control by choosing death. If she dies, she cannot be paraded. If she dies, she cannot be humiliated. If she dies, she ends the story on her own punctuation. But if she dies, Caesarion dies with her, because without her living presence, there is no reason for Octavian to keep the boy breathing even one more day. So Octavian does something brilliant and sick. He turns Cleopatra's love into a restraint. He makes survival feel like an act of motherhood, and death feel like betrayal. He doesn't have to chain her wrists if he can chain her mind. Cleopatra asks to see her children. She is refused. Again and again. The refusal isn't just denial. It's conditioning. It tells her that access to what she loves must be earned through submission. She hears the palace noises, the distant laughter of the younger ones, the echo of footsteps, and the sounds become weapons. She cannot know if the laughter is real or staged. She cannot know if her children are safe or being used as bait in a performance designed specifically for her ears. Every hour, without certainty, is a cut. Every day is another lesson. You are not queen here. You are a body being kept intact for transport. Then the next phase begins, the phase that feels almost unbelievable, until you remember that empires have always been experts in humiliation. Octavian sends men to her chamber who don't look like torturers. They look like planners. They arrive with measuring cords and wax tablets. They walk around the room as if Cleopatra isn't there, as if she's already an object. They measure space. They take notes. They ask questions about weight and height and posture, not for medical care, but for design. They discuss how she will be displayed, whether she will be chained or restrained, what garments will read as Egyptian to a Roman crowd, what jewelry will catch the light. They speak about her future humiliation as if they are designing a festival float. And Cleopatra listens, still and silent, because what do you say when someone is planning your degradation like carpentry? This is the horrific truth that hides behind the legend. Cleopatra's final days weren't just about preventing her suicide. They were about rehearsing her humiliation in front of her until the idea became inescapable, making the parade feel inevitable, making resistance feel pointless, making her mind walk through Rome in chains before her body ever arrived. And always, always Octavian balances the terror with the hook. Cooperate, and your children live. He is not offering mercy. He is offering a transaction, and for a moment the transaction almost works. Cleopatra stops eating, not as a melodramatic gesture, but as the last form of control she can still exercise. If she cannot choose a blade, she will choose hunger. If she cannot choose a public death, she will choose a private disappearing. She sits in that stone room and lets food go untouched. She lets time stretch thin and sharp. She stares at the wall until it feels like the wall is staring back. The guards report it. Octavian doesn't respond with force-feeding or threats. That would be too blunt, too obvious, too messy. He responds with a human face. He brings Caesarion. For the first time in days, Cleopatra sees her oldest son old enough to understand danger, young enough to still believe a mother can protect him. Guards stand close, listening, making sure the moment stays short. Caesarion looks at her with the kind of fear teenagers try to hide and fail to hide. And he says what Octavian has engineered him to say. Please eat. Please live. We need you. And Cleopatra, who has stared down Roman senators, who has held Egypt together with willpower and calculation, feels something inside her crack in a way no sword could accomplish. Because guilt is not a battlefield you can strategize. It floods, it drowns, it makes every heroic ending feel selfish. That night, Cleopatra eats. Not because she is defeated, because she is a mother. Octavian watches the results like a man watching an experiment confirm itself. Now he comes to see her, not with a crowd, not with the swagger of a conqueror. He enters as a calm, controlled administrator of fate. Guards remain outside because the presence of guards inside would admit fear. Octavian does not want to look afraid of Cleopatra. He wants to look like he is granting her options. He speaks softly. He makes an offer that sounds like dignity. If Cleopatra participates in the triumph willingly, if she walks through Rome under her own power, not dragged, then perhaps her children will be spared. Perhaps Caesarion too. But the offer has a shadow, and Cleopatra can see it in the careful phrasing. If she dies, Caesarion dies immediately. The younger children might live. They might not. No promises are solid. Only threats are. Octavian gives her a few days to decide. The ultimatum sits in the air like poison that doesn't smell. Cleopatra does not panic in her final days. She paces. The way a strategist paces when the board is lost and only the ending remains undecided. She thinks of Rome's triumph, of chains disguised as ceremony, of a crowd that will not just cheer but laugh. She imagines her face turned into proof of Roman virtue. Then she thinks of Caesarion, and she understands Octavian's real weapon, time. His promises are not mercy. They are tools, a way to keep her alive long enough to extract every ounce of propaganda her body can still provide, a way to turn waiting into a cage. When that truth settles, Cleopatra stops negotiating with Octavian and starts negotiating with time itself. She asks to visit Antony's tomb. Octavian agrees it costs him nothing, or so he believes. Inside the cold stone chamber, Cleopatra mourns, but she also searches. Desperation teaches people where to look. When she leaves, the guards see only grief. They do not see what she carries back with her. That night she prepares carefully. She bathes. She dresses in regalia. If Rome finds her broken, they win twice. If they find her royal, they must explain it. By morning the guards hear nothing. No struggle. No cries. Only silence. And silence, in the language of empires, is the one thing they cannot command.